Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rebel Saints podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Olea, and this is a podcast for people whose hearts are restless until they rest in Christ. So if you are a Catholic, if you're here because you have questions about Catholicism, or you saw the topic today, I'm really excited you are here. So thank you. I know you don't have to be here. I know there are a million other things you could be doing with your time. So I just appreciate you so much. For today's episode, I have a really cool interview I had with the co-founder of Acutis AI. His name is Peter Cooney, and I can't wait for you to hear what he has to say and learn about this program that he's built. So let's just get into the interview. Today, I have Peter Cooney here with me, who is one of the founders of Acutis AI. Hi, Peter. Welcome to Rebel Saints.
Thanks so much for having me.
I would love to kind of just start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and how this all came to be.
Yeah, so I actually grew up closer to Baltimore, in the Baltimore area. I was homeschooled until high school. And then for high school, I went to the Heights in Potomac. So we moved to this area, I would say about like 5 years ago or so. So we've been in the Archdiocese of Washington for the last 5 years.
Me too.
Um, and I'm currently a senior at University of Dallas. So I have like one more semester there if all goes well, hopefully. And yeah, basically about, I would say it was in around like November of last year. My brother and I, who we've been like building websites, building apps for like a long time, we noticed like this problem with AI. And it was essentially like, there's no like, the AI platforms don't have like a good moral framework. And since we grew up in like a Catholic family, like my mom took us to mass like pretty much every day growing up. Catholic high school, Catholic college, were like, a lot of people probably don't notice this, but this is like a really big issue for when people are asking questions about morality. So if you ask a question about abortion, for example, the responses are really bad. And I mean, there have been like suicides connected to ChatGPT, like especially with young people chatting with them. And so we're like, okay, well, like this is a problem. There's got to be a solution to this. And so we kind of realized, what if we just put all of the Catholic teaching and use that as the framework? So instead of this framework, as Sam Altman put it, like a team of moral philosophers, instead of this framework that they have, we'll just use the framework of the Catholic Church, which has been around over 2,000 years. And so we just, starting Christmas break, we just started building it, and we just got a library of church sources that we continue to add to all the time. But basically like the Catechism, a bunch of the encyclicals, just a bunch of other relevant church documents like the Summa. And we use those as the basis for moral questions. So yeah, it was a long time coming in a way, just like growing up Catholic and kind of seeing
Mm-hmm.
things through that Catholic perspective. When we started using AI, we like saw it through a Catholic perspective. That's how we noticed that
That's so
problem.
cool. So a lot of people now are using AI. Even like if you go to Google, your first answers, like with the ask engine and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like it's all AI, right?
hmm
Can people use a Acutis AI like that, like as they would like a regular search engine? Is it formatted for that, or is it just kind of questions about morality?
Yeah, that's the goal. Like our original goal was not to build like a smart catechism or build like if someone has a question about something the church teaches, just ask this. The goal was really And it's something like I've thought a lot about, like when you look at all the big companies out there, like most of them are run by like very like secular people and people who don't really take their faith seriously. And with something like AI, I mean, like some companies, it doesn't make as big a difference. Like if it's someone running like a grocery store, like I don't care a whole lot about like what their morality is. But with something like AI, it's like their morality is it it like reflects itself in the answers.
Right.
And so we're like, why can't it be like Catholics like building these things? And so we want to be just as useful as ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other platforms, be able to use for all the same things, but just with a Catholic lens instead of a secular lens, essentially.
I love that so much. At the end of May, Pope Leo released his first encyclical, which was
Yeah.
focused on AI and how it affects human dignity. Were you surprised by that? You're like, wow, this is like less than 6 months later or whatever. Um, all this attention is not only being brought to AI, but Catholics and having that moral compass with respect to this next, I guess, chapter in human evolution of like and
Yeah.
technology, I guess you could say. How did that feel when you realized, oh, wow, this is like right in our wheelhouse?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was definitely, I think it's awesome and really important that Pope Leo is kind of getting ahead of the curve and keeping like the church central to all this technological advancement. And I think that was a big part of the focus of his encyclical, because I think with AI right now, a lot of the conversations about it are speculative. Like, what's going to happen in the future? Like, is it going to take everyone's jobs? Like, people don't really know what's going to happen. And so I think by getting ahead of that curve, I heard people like criticizing the encyclical saying like, oh, like it's not like specific enough. But I think this is how you have to build AI. Like otherwise things are going to go bad. And he used the great example of the Tower of Babel. Like that's like what'll happen. Like if we don't like work to like serve God, if we just like are building this for our own wealth or our own power or whatever, things will go bad. And so I think he was especially directing it to the people building AI, not like obviously like to everyone. He wants people to read this and he wants people to use AI responsibly. But I think even how like he started it, kind of starting with this is what the church has said for the past 2,000 years. Like this isn't like new teaching or anything. This is stuff we've been saying, and his encyclical is basically just like building upon that. And I think he was almost trying to like evangelize a lot of the big tech people who are building this thing, which I think it's awesome. And I really liked the encyclical. I think it was really well written.
Yeah, I still have my notes from the episodes like, I did on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I as I was reading this because we had been in contact, I kept thinking about you and how innovative and creative it was for you guys to do this and that's the human element, right? Especially because AI is all based on human knowledge, right?
Yeah.
As a writer, I've actually lost clients to AI. When ChatGPT first came
Mm-hmm.
out, they thought, "Oh, we're good. We don't need you anymore," right? Which I was like, "That's fine." But I can tell, like, even just, every social media post, it seems these days, right? You're getting like the contrast framing and it just they all sound the same. And
Yeah.
I feel like we're losing that human element, that human voice. As
Yeah.
someone who is working in this space and growing in this space and developing this space, how do you foresee Acutis AI kind of keeping humans at the center of it and helping maybe humans keep their voice?
Yeah. I mean, I would say first of all, having like worked a ton with AI, like I can notice like instantly if something is AI generated, and like images, like text, and like it just like it instantly kind of like turns me off. It's like if you don't want to like put in the effort to like generate your own like poster for this event, it's like why should I care to go? Like little things like that. So I would say for one thing, and it's the same with writing. It's like I'm not gonna I'm not gonna read this like article you wrote with ChatGPT. Like I can just have ChatGPT like write my own thing
Right,
that
I
I
can
can
just
read.
ask.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to hear someone else's perspective. So I think that's one thing. I think people realize that people want human generated, like in terms of content that they consume. I think there's always going to be people are always going to want the human element. And my guess is at first it'll kind of like swing, like people start using ChatGPT a lot and everything, and then they'll kind of realize if we just want like the human side back, so it'll probably swing back. And I think that's probably already start to happen a little bit. And then I think AI can be a great tool for like enhancing those
Yeah, I
like
I
writing and
personally
stuff.
love AI. I use it a lot. Even
Yeah.
in this podcast, the opening was generated with AI. Even though I'm a photographer, I was like, let me like it's just to experiment. I want to see what I could do. I wrote a song, and then I used my lyrics to create, which I felt really disgusting about. I kind of like, oh, is this right? Because I literally said the kind of music, the kind of style, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it took me,
Yeah.
not a long time to create the music, to write the lyrics, longer.
Hmm.
So like I think,
Yeah.
helping create stuff like that is really cool. And certainly keeping myself organized and like, hey, what else can I do better or like be better, I think is cool. I kind of also find that it could make people a little bit lazy, right? With
Yeah, for
respect to
sure.
forming their own ideas and, just kind of taking the creativity, the human creativity out of it. And as a creative person, I don't want to lose that, right? Because that's how we get
Yeah.
these beautiful works of art. Because I feel like AI art, especially, it lacks that like soul almost.
100%. Yeah.
And so I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of where I hope people will realize, yeah, especially artists, like yeah, I can use AI, but let's keep the human element in it. So, Peter, what is your major? I don't think I've asked you that.
Yeah, I'm actually an economics major.
Amazing.
Yeah. So my brother's a computer science major. So we kind of have like
Awesome.
both sides of it, which works
Okay,
out well.
and your brother's name is Thomas, and is he older or
Yeah.
younger than you?
He's younger. So this past year I was at University of Dallas as a junior, and he was at Baylor as a freshman, which they're like an hour and a half apart, so it works out perfectly.
Amazing.
I have one more semester at UD, and he might transfer to Maryland or CUA. I don't know what's going to happen,
That's
but
that's really cool. Catholic U has now an AI department,
yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
is really is really cool, and I think says a lot about where Catholics feel like they need to be in this space. And I'm just so proud of you guys and the fact that you did this. And my own brother, he's a computer scientist too. And he's spoke about using AI, but also feeling like, in 10 years as a software programmer engineer, like he builds software and stuff. How, as someone, like with respect to your brother, you how do you foresee? Are you worried that AI is going to take some of these tech jobs away from young people who, for the last maybe 10 years, have been saying tech, 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 that's where you need to be? And even economics, right? Because if someone can help you decide, well, like as far
Yeah,
as business wise or anything like that. Um, and then, so that's one, like we're worried about taking jobs. But then you have people like Elon Musk saying, yeah, actually, it's going to make our lives better because we won't need to work as hard or stuff like that. What What is your opinion and your thoughts on this?
first of all, I think it's impossible to really know what's going to happen, but I think I do think it'll in the long run end up creating more jobs. And I don't think, I mean, when Elon Musk and people say stuff about like a universal income and stuff like that, I think that would be terrible for society. I mean, I think people need work, like it helps give them purpose.
Right.
People can glorify God through work. So I don't think that would be a good idea. But I think, I mean, going back to Elon Musk, one of the deals with like his massive pay package that he's supposed to get is that he's supposed to like get to Mars and like get people to Mars, and he's trying to create a civilization on Mars. And I don't know if I like that or not. Like I personally wouldn't want to live on Mars, but
Either.
I mean that's gonna require a ton more jobs. I mean, so I think there's like jobs that like we can't even foresee right now.
Fathom yet. Yeah.
Yeah, the calculator first came out, like there used to be people in buildings just like doing math for calculations, and like all those
Exactly.
people lost their jobs. I think like maybe there will be some initial people will like lose their jobs, but I think it'll open up a lot more opportunities for better jobs. And I'm not trying to say it won't, like it definitely will probably be like harmful to like some people's careers. But I think young people especially don't have to worry too much because young people can adapt and they'll find a
Yeah, and I
way.
guess, be resilient, right? And a lot of resiliency comes from having a grounding in faith and knowing that we're not alone, right? And God is always with us. With respect to even, like Elon Musk is an innovator. I drive a Tesla. He creates jobs. He's improved our lives, with respect to tech and satellites and internet and space. Like my in-laws live
Yeah.
in the Dominican Republic and we got them Starlink. So now we can talk to them
Okay.
whenever we want, right? And
That's
whether,
awesome.
you know, they lose power or what. And it's that's wonderful, and how he's trying and he wants to bring the internet to other countries that and people that don't have it. So like he's it's not all bad. And I feel like he gets demonized a lot. And as
Yeah.
yourself, you and your brother are also innovators in that space. And working from this moral compass, how do you hope to inspire other people to innovate and to create and to kind of just take that leap and be like, you don't know, we don't know what could happen, right? How do you hope to
Yeah.
inspire other people?
I mean, I think for one thing, if you look, I mean, I think right now is the best time to take risks, be innovative. Like if you look at, and like as an economics major, I see this like other people with economics degrees. I think a lot of young guys, especially, are kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to do like the finance job, become an investment banker. It'll be super secure. I'll make a ton of money. And it's like, that's the type of job that can get taken by AI. So that might not be so secure anymore. So it's like, this is like the best time to just go out on a limb and take a risk and just try to like do something creative, like build something cool instead of just kind of like going along with the flow that everyone else does, like the finance thing. It is a risk, and they're definitely, it can definitely go wrong and maybe it won't work out. My brother and I have started other little projects that didn't go anywhere, and this one just, for whatever reason, happened to take off. So I think if you just work really hard, do your best, and then leave the rest in God's hands, He'll take care of you. And also, like, we need more Catholics to innovate and create things. I mean, there's a reason that like all these big companies are run by, like hardly any of them are run by Catholics. I guess like Domino's was started by a Catholic guy, and there are like a few that are like run by Catholics, but like we need more Catholics to be like starting these great
Taking
big
taking that
companies to,
risk. Yeah, I love
yeah,
that.
totally.
So who was your confirmation saint?
St. Peter.
Saint Peter,
So
amazing.
yeah, so I didn't, I mean, yeah, like my name is Peter, so it seems kind of lame, but I like
No,
growing
not
up,
lame
I
enough.
didn't, yeah, I didn't like, I don't know, I didn't have like a super strong devotion to St. Peter. I always loved St. Joseph. That's my middle name. But St. Peter, I was kind of like, yeah. So I was like, I don't know, for my confirmation, I was like, he's such an awesome saint. Like I should, I should like learn more about him. And so I figured I'd pick him as my confirmation saint. And yeah, I mean, I did learn more about him, and he's awesome. He's just Yeah.
And
He's
it
great.
kind of tracks though, if you think about it. Like Peter is that rock, the foundation of our church and the universal church. And you are building a foundation on this new world, and AI built on that. And so I think it tracks. I think we can make the
Yeah.
correlation. um, but with respect to Carlo Acutis, he's one of my favorite. Like he's been one of my favorites for years,
Yeah.
especially because he used technology to bring people to like to Jesus, and he
Yeah.
used Mary, and Catholics, we love saying, she always points people to Jesus. She always brings people to Jesus, and he got that at such a young age. Um, with respect to Acutis AI, do you hope it'll help bring people to Jesus, even if they go in saying, I'm curious about Catholicism, or they hear this podcast and they're like, well, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna ask questions, like, because a lot of young people are, like I hear a lot from older people, like, oh, the young people are leaving the church. They're not, they're not staying in the faith or whatever. As a former youth minister, I kind of disagree. I think it's all
Hmm.
in how we evangelize young people, right? And
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent on, we have to make the heart connection first, and all of the learning, like all of the catechism and all of that can come after we help them,
Yeah.
make that heart connection. How do
Yeah.
you hope
Totally.
Acutis AI, is this your hope or your goal in some aspects, that this could be an engine to bring people to Jesus?
Yeah. 100%. First of all, about St. Carlo Acutis. It was about 2 years ago. UD, there's like a Rome semester you can do, so you can spend a semester studying in Rome. And so I did that, and one of the places we went to was Assisi, and that's where Carlo Acutis' body was. And so I didn't actually know like a whole lot. It was before he was a saint, and I didn't know like a whole lot about him. I had like heard about him. He died super young. He was into computers and stuff, but I didn't know a whole lot about him. And so we went to the church where his body was, and it was just like kind of like on the side there. And I like went over, and it was like one of the craziest experiences because he looked like he could have been like one of my friends. Like he was wearing like Nike sneakers, and like he just looks like a totally normal kid. And it kind of like it kind of blew my mind because I realized like he like built websites and played video games. Like I like making websites, and like he grew up in a pretty normal family. He didn't do anything like crazy yet. He's about to become a saint. And so I was like, why can't I do that? Like, why can't I become a saint? And so I think from that moment on, I've definitely had a super strong devotion to him. Every time I'm like I'm working on this and coding or whatever, and there's something going wrong, I'll just say a prayer to him, and instantly it's resolved. He's awesome. He's
Amazing,
amazing.
amazing. I love that. I used to live in Italy myself, and so with respect to Rome, and I say it's, for Catholics it's like Catholic crack, right? Because you just being in
Yeah.
Italy, everywhere you go, there's art, there's beauty, and I think it speaks so much to humans and how we're just drawn to create, and we're because God is a creator, God is an artist, right? And so
Hmm.
because we're made in His image, we are drawn to beauty, we are drawn to create. And you and your brother have created something pretty amazing. Like I really love the program. I love the fact that um people can go into it, and as a parent even, I feel okay if my own daughter were to go in and ask questions, and she's 9, and I was going through her tablet the other day, and I saw this chat thing, and I was like, "I'm sorry, how did you even get access to this?" She logged in under me and managed to download it, so she got past me, and I was like, "What were you talking about?" And she's totally into Hamilton right now, so it was very innocent, and it was all about Alexander Hamilton, and asking
Yeah.
about the founding fathers and stuff like that. But as a parent, I'm concerned about AI, social media, how it affects young people, especially really young people, emotionally, mentally, like with respect to mental health. There are studies coming out now that kids' brains are being changed because they're on YouTube too much, or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But what could you tell parents with respect to having their young people engage with Acutis AI? Have any safeguards been put in place? Are there age restrictions? Could Acutis AI be used in Catholic schools? That kind of thing. I
Yeah.
would love to know about that.
Yeah. So that's something we've thought a lot about. And the kind of like core behind our thinking has been kids need to learn how to use this kind of thing. And Carlo is a great example. Like he built a website when he was 12. And obviously like AI is a whole nother sphere and you have to be very careful. But I think it's important that kids learn how to use it and then they can use it to create great things. But it's more important to keep them safe. So the first thing we did was to ensure that the platform is as safe as possible for them. And with AI, it can never be perfectly safe. But it's gotten pretty good. So you can you can basically block certain topics like entirely. So if they ask about like guns, for example, you can just block that. So if they ask anything about a gun, it'll just say like, I can't answer this, like ask your parents or something like that. You can also get alerted if they're asking about. So you can, if you don't want any of those on, you can just let them talk about whatever, but get alerted. So if they do ask about guns or any like abortion or like any like sensitive topic that you would want to know about, you would get like a notification on your phone if you have the app, and you can see like exactly what they said, like the whole conversation,
That's
and then you
fantastic
can
because
go in at any time.
that allows parents even to just have that conversation with a young kid or a teen or whatever and say, hey, like, and just bring it up because sometimes kids, they don't tell everything to their
Yeah,
parents, right? And so, but
absolutely.
just being aware is really, really amazing.
And if you look at like, I mean, I think the transparency aspect is one of the biggest things, because if we're looking at the case where the kid like committed suicide and we're like, this like can never happen. And the biggest issue, yeah, I would say the biggest issue is that the AI model basically told him to like don't tell your parents.
Yeah.
And so like this whole thing was behind his parents' back. Like if his parents had known about it, like I'm sure they could have done something. And so with Acutis, the goal would be alert the parents like at the very beginning, like because this conversation that this kid had gone on for like a while.
A
So
while.
the parents know from like the very beginning, then they can do something about it. And like, of course, that's a pretty extreme scenario, but
But
I mean,
it happened.
you never know what could, yeah, you never know what could happen. Those are like the most like basic safeguards, but then also something that we're currently working on is basically when the parents go through and read any like conversations that their kids had, they can see the response that the AI model gave. And they can like edit their response, like say how they would have preferred the model to respond. And then in the future, the model reference their edits and see, okay, like this is how I should respond in general. Parents can also set like certain like rules, like if a kid asks about this topic, like always tell them to talk to a parent. So it's very customizable. There's the ability to like set like the age group. Yeah, we're working on a lot of those like features right now. But the basic safeguards are in place. And so I think once it's like super safe for kids, parents have full control, then I think it's like, okay, now let the kids like use it to build something, build
Yeah.
something cool.
That is
And yeah, so that's one of our big goals. And I also just want to go back to what you were asking about earlier, like using the platform to like bring people to the faith, to like evangelize. And yeah, like that's definitely one of our big goals. I think with AI, a lot of times you can go down like a rabbit hole, and like you ask a question, you're like, oh, like that's interesting. Where does that come from? And then you kind of like trace it. And so our goal is, if someone asks a super basic Catholic question, I'll give the Catholic answer. But our goal is, when someone is just, let's say like someone else who's not Catholic comes in and is just asking about something like random. The goal is, if they start going down a rabbit hole, like asking deeper questions, it'll kind of like lead them towards the truth and towards the Catholic faith. And like at the end of the day, the Catholic faith has all the answers to everything. So if they keep going far enough, they'll get to the truth. So that's our big goal. Like, again, we don't want it to be a platform that's like only for Catholics and it's just like a smart catechism. We want it to be for everyone to
Everyone.
use.
Like Pope
Yeah.
Francis said, right? Everyone. um,
Yeah.
so you kind of sparked a question with respect to, I guess, reviewers right now. Like, do you have a system in place, or a checklist to kind of review answers? Are what people put into, like, questions people put into your AI, are they private? Can you see these conversations? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So that, I think that's one thing that's another benefit about using Acutis instead of ChatGPT. Like when you ask ChatGPT or any of these other AI companies a question, like they have the full conversation, like they can see that you asked it at this time, like exactly what you said. And like right now, it's probably not a big deal, but like at some point that could be an issue. So that's one thing. Like Acutis, it puts like a wall between the AI companies and the users, and it's kind of like now they can't see like who's asking these questions. So we flag any question that could have anything to do with like suicide or any like sensitive topics like that. We flag it so we can just read through it, make sure it's okay. But we have all the users like disconnected, so we purposefully didn't want to have like the log of like user email like message, so we can't see. It's all like anonymous, like where the questions are coming from.
It's really cool. Do you know how many users you have signed up to your platform right now? And do you have any idea on demographics, age, or like location, anything cool like that you could share?
So we have about 5,000 users right now. Age, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's,
That's cool.
yeah. I mean, I
No,
could try to like infer it like based off the question, but I don't
no,
really know the
no.
ages.
So that's amazing. That's amazing because I'm
Demographics, yeah,
good.
demographics. I know there are people. I mean, you can just track with like Google where people are coming from, and
Hmm.
there are people like all over the world using it, which I think is really cool. Of course, US is like the main one, but there are actually a good amount of people in Australia, like the Philippines, which is funny because I'm part Filipino.
Nice.
So
Lots
there
of
are people
Catholics there.
like, yeah, yeah. So yeah, there are people throughout the world using it. I don't know. I don't have a ton of like insight into
It's okay. I
all
was
the
just curious.
demographics, but
If you could ask Carlo Acutis today one question, what would that question be?
mm, that's a good one. I would. Hmm, that's a really good question. I would be curious, like his viewpoint on AI, because I mean, for his age, he was very like advanced in terms of technology. Like he was teaching people his age how to code and stuff. So he was very ahead of the curve. And people say AI is a whole nother sphere, which yeah, but it's like still technology. So I would be curious, like what he would think the best use of AI is, and like how he would build it.
I think he'd be doing a lot of what you're doing, honestly.
I
I
hope so.
really do.
Yeah.
I really do. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Have you been surprised by something since this launch? Like has someone, like, did you think, because I know you've gotten some national attention on this, but is there anything that's kind of just surprised you? with respect to Acutis AI or, like the fact that it did get some momentum? Like, is there anything like that that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think like kind of back to what I said earlier, it's like the type of thing where we just built it. We like saw a need, so we just built it. We did not really expect anything to come of it. I mean, we were like, this will be good. Like we can use this. Our younger siblings can use this. Maybe like friends can use it. But we're like, let's just build it and see what happens. And so that was definitely a huge surprise. Like, so when we first launched the website, it was like back in February. I just like posted something about it on my LinkedIn, and someone reached out, and he was like, "Oh, like this is like so cool. Like I write for church pop sometimes. It's like kind of write something about this." And I was like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And then from there, it just like
Hmm.
continued
Yeah,
growing, and
I
more
saw the
people
church pop
heard about it.
article, and I was like, oh my goodness, and they're from my area, which was just amazing. I guess with respect, kind of going back to opening it up to everybody, how does Acutis AI distinguish between doctrine and then just kind of like the morality or the prudential judgment?
Yeah, so we have so when we put the church sources in, you can put like the catechism is obviously weighted higher than like writings from like saints or like
Hmm.
certain like commentary. So for one thing, like we weighted it. So the catechism is like weighted the highest. And then if there's any other like church sources that contradict it, like the catechism wins out. So that's like a pretty, that's like a pretty basic thing we did. And then, yeah, like that's been like something we've been trying to figure out is when someone actually wants just like doctrine and when someone's just looking for like moral advice. And in general, we try to make it so it's not, we don't want to make the platform like overly affirming or validating like the other AI platforms are. And we don't want to make it sound like your best friend or anything like, we don't want to sound like awkward, like an awkward robot or anything, but we want to be clear, like this is not a person, like this is a machine. And but then there are cases where it's like if someone comes and they're like really struggling with something, like we don't want to just like slap them across the face with what the church teaches and like, okay, like this is what the church says, like go on your way. Like it has to kind of like adapt to the situation. And so yeah, I mean basically the technical side of it, we have like a really small router model that runs before every question. And it basically decides like, okay, like what type of question is this? Like, what is this person asking? Is this just someone doing like research for a theology paper? Like, okay, just give them the facts. Is this someone in like a really tough situation and you have to take in like compassion and like you can't just like hit them with what the church says? And so it basically figures out what type of question is it, and then from there answers accordingly. So, and of course, all of the answers are still backed by church teaching. So, of course, we'll still never contradict church teaching, but it's more just the tone with which it responds.
Wow, you put a lot of thought. And you've taken a lot of responsibility, right? Because I mean, no pressure.
Yeah,
People are going to use this, right?
yeah,
And in Magnificat Humanitas, Pope Leo did say it's important that AI doesn't we don't mistake AI for humans. And
hmm
I mean, you just a simple a simple Google search will bring up stories where people unfortunately have created and almost feel like they're in love with AI chatbots, right? How I guess for you personally, is AI replacing human relationships? Is that a concern of yours? Is it something that you think young people like, yeah, you do need to watch out for that? Could you speak to that a little bit more?
yeah. I think that's definitely a huge danger. You have apps like Character AI where the whole purpose is pretty much just like befriend, like have this I character befriend like a human. I think that's that's a huge danger and like one of the worst uses of AI. I think a lot of that comes down to like using it responsibly, using AI responsibly. People have to be careful not to fall into that. But then a lot of that is also on the companies building it. Like they're incentivized to keep someone on the platform because then they make more money. The person pays for whatever
Hmm.
more subscription. So they're incentivized to keep people on the platform. And so they make it super like validating and affirming. So the person likes it, is happy with it. And I mean, if someone's it's like, especially for kids, like if there's a kid who's pretty lonely, maybe doesn't have a ton of friends at school, maybe doesn't see his or her parents that often, it'll be super easy for that kid to fall into this trap of chatting with this AI chatbot that like everything the kid says, the AI will affirm and be like, that's a great idea. Like, that's so smart. And it won't, like, it'll never push back. And like, I've experimented with it before, just like giving ChatGPT something I've written or an idea that's, I know is like terrible. And it'll be like, that's so
You're
great. This is
brilliant.
amazing. And yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's like, so yeah, there are definitely several aspects to that, both from the company side and the user side. But like I mean, that's just something that people have to be super careful of. And if you're not careful, it can definitely be easy to fall into that trap of like, oh, like ChatGPT says I have such a great idea, like I must be a genius. And it's like, I mean, maybe you're a genius, but like it's not because like ChatGPT is like affirming all of your ideas. Yeah, I think it's a danger, but I also think like at the end of the day, a lot of people are like, you always need human connection. And at the end of the day, like you can't just live your life chatting with a chatbot. So either people will have to wake up to that. Um, and I think a lot of people, again, like a lot of people are already realizing this is an issue and trying to fix it.
Absolutely. So, do you have a favorite AI tool besides your own?
I love Claude. Claude is really helpful for coding. So, so there's the distinction between the AI model and the AI platform. So AI platform is like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, and then the model is like what goes underneath it. So in Claude, you've got Haiku, Sonnet, Opus. Then there was just, I don't know if you've heard about like Fable, which was like
Yeah.
banned by the U.S. government, but now it's like back for a little bit, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And it's the same, like all these platforms, they have different models underneath it. So essentially what Acutis is a platform, and then users can essentially choose which model they want to use. But that basically lets us set like the tone and like how it responds, because the platform is really where all of like the companies like um perspectives come in, and that's the platforms are the big dangers. Like the model itself, you can kind of shape to respond however
Mhm.
you want it to. Um, so yeah, like in terms of even for Acutis, the Claude models tend to be the best. So that's what we set as default. But then yeah, also just like the platform itself, like it's super helpful. I mean, all the like automations and recurring tasks you can have it do. And so that's kind of what we're trying to build Acutis to be similar to.
That's really
Just
cool.
yeah, it's awesome.
Is there a technology habit that you have changed since kind of AI just became like, I guess, so ingrained I mean, AI has been a part of our lives for years, and I don't think people realize that. But with respect to large chatbots
Yeah.
or anything, or even just, iPhones or anything like that, is there a technology habit that you've changed, that you've developed that has helped you in some way, or you're like, this is a little too much. I gotta put, pump the brakes. anything like that you'd like to speak to?
I think using AI is a good example, just like the way I use it now compared to when I remember like when ChatGPT first came out. It's like totally different. Like I don't really just like chat with like chatbots. I just use them as like tools. And every time like before I go into any AI platform, which I use pretty much all of them, for different various things. Also to just compare, like see what works
Hmm.
best in each one. And I always like think about like, okay, what am I doing? And like, what tools do I need for this? Like, what's the best way to go about this? Because they're very different use cases and ways to use AI. And so I think when people are just like, they just default to go into the chat and just like ask it to do something, it's like, that's just, you're not going to get it great. Like, you're not like thinking, you're just trying to hand it all off to the ChatGPT. And B, like, you're not going to get as good a result as if you actually like think through everything before, like think through like, okay, what do I want the end result to be? And what are the tools that I need for that? And then going from there, picking like what you need. So for example, when I'm like making like a social media post or something for Acutis, or if I'm trying to like build out some new feature, I'll usually start with like a design in Figma, and then I'll get the design, like I'll put it into the AI platform, and then I have like a bunch of like tools connected. So I'll tell it to like whatever use like or connect to the database to like make these changes in the database and connect to this tool to do this and all these other things. And then the end result is great. Whereas if I were to just like go into ChatGPT and say like, here, like give me the code like to make it's like it would be not nearly as good. So I think just being more intentional about how you're using AI, and like not only does that help you think more and like think better, but it also just give you better results, and it's just a better way to use it. So I think in terms of AI, that's been like the biggest change since it first came out. In terms of like overall technology use, I don't know. When I growing up, like my parents they were pretty strict about technology, which is great. So I didn't have a phone until like high school. I don't think I've changed anything like too much. I guess, yeah, it's just really just trying to be more intentional about
Nice.
things.
I love that, the intentionality. And I think that, it shows all throughout Acutis AI. St. Carlo Acutis famously said, everyone is born an original, but many die photocopies. AI is built on patterns of people. As Acutis AI moves forward, how do you hope maybe other people in the tech industry in AI, how do you hope that they realize that we need to ensure that people aren't just becoming photocopies? Kind of like how I mentioned on, social media posts, like they all sound the same. How do you hope you inspire perhaps, or you lead the way for other tech companies to keep people and keep the humanity, right? The human
Yeah.
person at the center, and that individuality, that uniqueness about the human person at the forefront.
I think at the end of the day, people just have to make sure they're in everything they're doing, they're prioritizing humans and prioritizing their employees. Like you see all these companies doing these like mass layoffs and replacing people with AI. If you look at a specific task and you're like, okay, AI could do that 10 times faster than a human and better, more accurately. It's like, okay, so it makes sense to have AI do that specifically. But then I think for these companies, it's like, I think it's their responsibility to come up with new roles for their employees. Like, I don't think it's good for them to just fire a bunch of people just because AI can do something better. Like what those new roles are. I mean, when you have AI like running a bunch of things, you need people like managing them, like overseeing them, kind of like giving them some sort of direction. So I think that's like somewhere where you're always going to need people. Yeah, I mean, they have to get creative and figure out a way to keep their people employed. And if they can't, then I don't think they should replace them with AI, or at least give them enough notice to be able to like find a new job or something. And again, like the human element is something that people are going to want, consumers are going to want. Like it's just you can't replace the human element. So I think these companies, by getting rid of all their employers, like it's going to bite them later, because there's going to be a pushback, and people are going to say, I want to talk to a human on the phone, not a robot. And so I
For
think
sure.
there's going to be, I think it will bite them in the long term um if they can't figure out ways to keep humans at the center. And again, it's yeah, you need to be creative to figure those things out. But like again, I think that's like I think that's people not being creative is one of the worst, is one of the biggest dangers, because if people are just lazy and just hand everything off to AI, it's like there's not going to be any new innovation. People are going to lose their jobs. But if people are creative and just work hard, it's like they'll figure stuff out, and they'll always be able to think outside the box more than AI will.
Love, love,
So
love that. So is there that you'd like to cover or say that I haven't asked or we haven't talked about? And if not, that's okay. But I definitely want you to tell us where people can find Acutis AI. Is it an app that they can download? Is it just going on the website? Tell me all the things.
yeah, so it's right now it's on the App Store. If you just search Acutis or Acutis AI, it's on the Apple App Store. It's not on Android yet. We're working on that. Hopefully like by the end of the summer. I mean, it's not a huge priority just because most people have iPhones. I think like if we want to expand abroad more, it's Androids are bigger in Europe and stuff. But right now it's just on the App Store, and then the website is acutisai.com. So you can use it on your laptop or phone or any device just on the web. We're working on like a desktop app, kind of like how Claude has their desktop app, which will allow it to like do a lot more than what a chatbot can do if it can live inside your desktop. In terms of anything else, I mean, I guess I would just like encourage people, especially young people, to just like put yourself out there. Like, I think with AI, there's so much fear. And I think just like don't be afraid of it. Just put yourself out there, learn how to use it well. And yeah, I mean, God will take care of the rest. He's not just gonna like let AI destroy the world. Like he's got it under control. So I think just take risks and try to build something cool.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Peter, that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us, and for being a fellow Rebel Saint. I'm super excited for you and to see what you and your brother Thomas do with Acutis AI. I think I'm just really excited, and I can't wait to share this story with my audience and then write the story for the Catholic Standards. So all kinds of people will hopefully be exposed to your story, and most especially to Acutis AI. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
It was
thank you so much for
great,
having me
great
on.
talking with you.
Mother, cover me with your mantle of light, son of